Yo, welcome to another edition of the Players Ball Podcast, where we cover all sports far and wide. I'm your host, Roddy. Go ahead and give us a follow at the Players Ball 1 on Twitter and at the Players Ball Podcast on Instagram. Then go ahead and give me a follow at Roddy404 on both platforms. Now, we've had a very interesting week. We finally got our first look at what the Super Bowl is going to be like, so we'll get into that a little bit. The All-Star reserves were announced this week as well, so we'll get into that as well as the transfer deadline in soccer. So a lot of big things going on, some coaching changes, some retirements. So I think we should just hop right into it and get to our news segment. And we'll start off with, like I said, the All-Star reserves were announced on Thursday. For the West, it's going to be Damian Lillard, Lauri Markkanen, Paul George, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Sabonis, Ja Morant, and Jaren Jackson Jr. Now, a lot of people were upset that Jaren Jackson Jr. got in because of the extended amount of time that he missed. There are a lot of other people on the other side of that argument that say that he is having one of the best defensive seasons in terms of, blocks. I think he has like 4 a game almost this season. So it's a back and forth that people are having right now. There's going to be always somebody snubbed, no matter what the conference is. But there is also a case for De'Aaron Fox and for Anthony Edwards, with Anthony Edwards having 2 of his best players, with Cat going down for the majority of the year and Gobert being in and out of the lineup. He's kind of, carried that team and kept them, around to, like I was talking about last week, that 3 to 10 spot, to where, there are not many games that separate those two or that group, should I say. So will be interesting to see, how Jaren performs in the All-Star game. I know a lot of people like, a lot of guards to get in, and it is pretty guard heavy if you're looking at, the list, but it is what it is. Somebody's always going to get snubbed. So we'll go to the East now. It's going to be Joel Embiid, DeMar DeRozan, Jaylen Brown, Bam Adebayo, Drew Holiday, and Julius Randle and Tyrese Halliburton, actually. Now, again, Tyrese Halliburton is a person who is getting some slander because he also missed a considerable amount of time. My guy Trae Young is averaging, I think, 27 and 10, leads the league in assists again, and got snubbed. So even though I'm a little bit upset, I can understand why it is. He's had, not the best shooting performances from the field this year. A lot of shaky performances. He leaves a lot to be desired this year. He's a great player still. I wouldn't doubt him. But the adjustment of having DeJounte Murray coming to the fold has been taking him time to get used to. So hopefully he's able to turn up in the second half of the season because, things like this motivates guys. So we'll see what happens with them. But I want to get into what happened after, these reserves were announced. And that is the game between the Memphis Grizzlies headed to Cleveland to face the Cavaliers. And as you all might have seen, it kind of went down last night. And this guy, Dillion Brooks, is starting to, I guess, have the reputation of he's a dirty player or something. But this right here, y'all tell me if this is dirty or not, because I feel like my boy kind of knew what he was doing. Maybe not where he was gonna hit him, but watch.
Mitchell was in the West with Utah, so they've seen each other a lot. Mitchell threw the ball and then came up and shoved him, and then threw him.
And then a trainer is coming over trying to, save Dillion Brooks from catching a felony, because obviously he might not have seen that he hit him in the junk, but he knows he was trying to hit him. I mean, you can kind of see that from the video. So they both got thrown out from the game, obviously. They're both going to probably get maybe a 1 to 2 game suspension, definitely going to get a hefty fine, and it'll be, all swept under the rug next week. That was just one of the funniest moments from this week, so we had to kind of get into that. But the Cavs blew the doors off of the Grizzlies after that. And one thing that people have been saying, I saw this on Twitter, is the Grizzlies are one of those good teams. We know they're a good team, but they're in between, blowouts, it feels like. Like they either blow you out as a team or they get blown out. Don't really know why that is, but I guess that's the ebbs and flows of a season, especially when you have guys out like they have. So we'll see what they do later on in the season, and especially in the second half, because I feel like they're going to make a push. But they just got to stay consistent. That's the only thing with them. Now, to end this week, we definitely want to mention that next week, not only is it going to be Super Bowl week, but it's going to be where LeBron passes Kareem for the all-time leading scorer in NBA history. It's an accomplishment that I feel like is one of the biggest, most notable in sports right now. It's not getting a ton of coverage, in my opinion, or it's not getting the proper coverage, should I say, because today, at the time of this recording, is February 3rd, which makes it 2-3-2-3, and that's technically Michael Jordan Day, and they're showing a whole bunch of highlights of him and what he's doing and all that. And I understand we love to, respect our legends and give them their flowers while they can still smell them, but I really think we should focus a little bit more on what LeBron's doing, man. I mean, it's one of those records that we never thought was going to be broken, and he's about to break it and extend it, possibly playing next year, 2 years from now. He's going to have a chance to really have one of the most untouchable records in NBA history, maybe in sports history in general. So I'm glad that I'm alive to see it, and we're going to champion LeBron over here. That's all I'm saying. Not going to get into the who's better debate. I just want to see LeBron get his flowers, and deservedly so. Now, to move it across the pond to the transfer window in soccer, we've seen a lot go down in this transfer window. Obviously, my club, Chelsea, has been buying everybody. I mean, we've spent over 5 million euros or dollars or whatever it is on transfers. Obviously, financial fair play is being brought into question by a lot of the both players, coaches, fronts of organizations. Everybody is kind of figuring out, why do we have so much money to spend? But we not broke, so not our fault. It is what it is. But to go into some of the more notable moves, Arsenal got Jorginho from Chelsea. I think that's a good move for them in terms of depth. Even though I don't love it, I think having him on loan is having the ability to kind of shore up that midfield for that down the stretch one. They haven't played City yet in the league, as we know. I think it's 2 weeks away now, so they definitely want to shore up their club as much as possible for that final push. So that was one of the biggest ones. Like I mentioned before, Chelsea signed Enzo Fernandez, Mudryk as well from PSV. So 2 great signings, in my opinion. 2 people who are going to change the landscape of what we're trying to do. There's still more work to be done, but I really do, enjoy what the plans of our head is doing. So I appreciate them. Now, one of the failed transfers, though, is Ziyech going to PSG. And I'll be honest with you, like, I don't really get what happened. I mean, I was told that the paperwork was submitted too late. Sometimes these things happen in transfer instances. But usually when PSG wants a guy, they usually can go out and get them because of the money situation, which means to, tell me that maybe they had their eye on getting this transfer done for a while, and maybe Chelsea was dragging their feet. I don't really know, and not a lot of specifics came out about it. But I thought that would have been a great addition to PSG, even though I love Ziyech as a player. I think he was great for Chelsea. Didn't really stick like I thought he would, but it is what it is. It happens with some players. So a change of scenery might have helped him. He's going to go there with his boy Hakimi, but the deal fell through. So it is what it is. But hopefully he can make an impact in Chelsea's squad, because I really do want to see him, still getting opportunities, because he's a great player in my opinion. Now, to stay in the Premier League, they have Marcel Sabitzer, Man United, coming over from RB Leipzig. I kind of enjoyed this transfer, I guess, in terms of just seeing how it's going to work out. Having a guy who's going to shoot from deep and run around like a crazy person on the pitch. But ultimately, it's what United needs. They need all the midfielders they can get. Not maybe the correct midfielder in terms of fit for what the coach likes to do in terms of his philosophy. But, I mean, it's a body. So we'll have to see how that works out as well. And speaking of canceled transfers, Moises Caicedo was really hot on the move to Arsenal. Jorginho kind of was, I guess, the backup option. He is going to stay at Brighton. He made a post saying, thank you. I appreciate the club for everything they've done for me. Kind of like a goodbye post. And he didn't move. So it's kind of awkward in that dressing room. It's going to be interesting to see how Brighton's overall form, either progresses or digresses, because not only did they lose their coach this year, but they have this situation going on. So hopefully the team can stay together. But it wouldn't be a surprise if they wouldn't, or if they fall off a little bit. Now, to go back to American football, specifically college football, talks have fizzled out for OU and Texas to join the SEC in 2024, a year earlier than first planned. And the reason really is that Fox has a commitment with them to show a bunch of their games. Obviously, Fox partners with ESPN, to broadcast these games for them in the Big 12. So it would be an issue there. And those are big advertising spots, especially on Fox, which is a cable brand. You don't have to have DirecTV or Dish or whatever to get Fox. So that's big money advertising, and they're definitely not going to let those two blue bloods of the conference go without having some sort of compensation for missing those opportunities. So they can wait till 2025. They made us cancel Georgia, our game against Oklahoma this year that we were going to set up and play Ball State. A lot of people are upset about that, but it is what it is. To go to professional football before we end, Vic Fangio is going to be the DC down there in Miami. It will be interesting to see how he's able to shape that defense. Took a little step back as the season progressed, but I think a guy like him can definitely change the philosophy. Coaching definitely does matter, so hopefully he'll be able to get right and get that team up and running quickly on the defensive end after losing Bradley Chubb. You got a bunch of guys that were hurt this year, so we'll have to see what adjustments that they make in terms of personnel as well. But to end off the show, or at least the news segment of the show, in a funny note, please watch George Kittle and how badly the San Francisco 49ers are cursed. How badly he just wants to play for another Super Bowl and get the opportunity to win. And I don't blame him. Like, if I was in the league giving up a lot of, sweat equity, I would want to do the same thing. But y'all, watch what he said to Brock Purdy, who had a torn UCL in his throwing elbow, by the way. Watch what George Kittle says to him.
Lefty? Are you ambidextrous?
He wanted the man to throw with his left hand? Man, the Niners are cursed, bro. The Kaepernick curse is real. But let's go ahead and get into the big three. All right, time to get into the big three. Like I said earlier on in the show, we finally have our Super Bowl matchup. It will be the Philadelphia Eagles against the Kansas City Chiefs. And I just have to give it up to Patrick Mahomes. That's the first person I want to talk about. The fact that you clearly saw that this man was hobbled, and you clearly saw him have receivers go down in the game, and he still was able to win the game and produce at a high level. I mean, I thought he wasn't definitely going to throw for 300 yards, and he passed that relatively easily. Again, without some of his main receivers. Travis Kelce, before game time, had a back injury that was reported by a lot of the insiders. He ended up going and having a great game. He scored a touchdown in that game as well. Now, I understand that the stupidity of the Cincinnati Bengals did come into play in this game. I totally understand that. But, I mean, Pat's performance was just impeccable to me. I really feel like he is that guy, and we can't do him like we did LeBron and just get used to the fact that he's great. Like, we have to keep acknowledging it. We have to exasperate the point every single time, because we need to exalt our heroes and give our people their flowers, while they can still smell them. So incredible performance by him. Joe played okay. I'm not going to say he played perfect in any right, but I think he did enough for his team to win. And the defense let him down a little bit with dumb mistakes. So I'll be interested to see how healthy Pat is going into this game and how much they can get defensively. Because if we switch to the NFC side, the Eagles look like a machine, man. And I don't even think Jalen Hurts played that well on Sunday, but I really do think the depth that they have is insane. Kenneth Gainwell was probably the player that blew the game open the most. Him able to get the run game going and, really gash the defense for big yardage opened up Jalen being able to get out of the pocket and run those read options. They were working the RPOs as well. So they really got most of what they wanted. There was a scare with Fred Warner's health, should I say, at the beginning of the game. I think it was like the second play of the game as well. So I don't know how much that affected him, but they were manipulating the Niners defense. It was very obvious to see that. And of course, the Niners not being able to get a starting quarterback on the field did affect their ability to compete. But still, there was no let up with the Eagles offense. They weren't put in the most fabulous positions the entire game, and they still were able to get basically whatever they want. So shout out to them, man. I think they're a juggernaut. We'll have more predictions and more analysis later on next week, so I can tell you who I think is going to win this game. But this is going to be a good one, y'all. I think this is really going to be a real good one. To move on to our second topic, Sean Payton is going to be the head coach of the Denver Broncos. They traded two first-round picks to get him, which is what the Saints required, which is a win for us as the Saints. The Broncos get a fourth-round pick back from us. Not really effective, I guess. I mean, there are Hall of Famers that are drafted in the fourth round. We obviously know that, but I think it's something you can give up due to the position that we're in if you're the Saints. So getting back into the first round is huge for us. We're going to be able to get a player that we need in order to improve this team. But I think the biggest decision that needs to be made is the decision of who's going to be the quarterback and also who is going to be the offensive coordinator, or how is the offense going to change in order to support the team that we are now. We were very low in terms of pre-snap motion and some of the things that you see the more creative offenses in the NFL run this year. So if we can improve that, get some good draft guys in. We have a high second as well, so we're picking very close together. I think it should be good for us. So we'll see what happens with that, but Sean Payton should be good for the Broncos. I think that Russell Wilson needs a guy who knows what he's doing and has done it before, which Nathaniel Hackett can't say. And he'll bring some stability to, that organization, which is under new ownership. So they're going to be looking to start winning here pretty quickly. So hopefully Sean Payton is able to be successful out there. I wish him nothing but the best. All he did for New Orleans is, rise us up to one of the premier organizations in the NFL. So I have to do nothing but salute him for that. And to end the show on a great note, he's gone. He's done. He's retired. He's finally out of here. And I think he's faking it. I'll have to see until the first snap of the next season happens, but I think he's done. And look, he had a great career. I'm not going to front on him, but I'm glad to see him go, okay? Stop terrorizing us. Go be a family. Anyway, Tom Brady retired. He posted a video to Twitter, and he basically said he's thankful for everybody that helped him get to this point in his life. You can hear a little, twinge in his throat at the end when he's discussing it, and I think it was beyond time for him to go. I don't think he brought a lot to the Tampa Bay organization this year. I don't think he was terrible, but I don't think he was good either. They're about to be in shambles, which is another great fact. Love that for me as well. And yeah, it seems that everything is working out in my favor in the last 24 hours. We got a first round pick back for our coach, and the best quarterback of all time is no longer in our division. So I'm happy with it, to be honest with you. And there's a lot to say about the way Brady changed the game and the way he was able to open up things for these other game manager level quarterbacks. So his contribution to the game will never be disrespected on my end, okay? I just was exhausted from seeing him doing it over and over again and having to account for the fact that, he's always lurking and watching and possibly, gonna get you. So shout out to him for a great career, but again, sayonara. All right. That'll do it for us today, though. Please be sure to follow the Players Ball 1 on Twitter. That is our official Twitter for the podcast, at the Players Ball Podcast on Instagram. And then go ahead and give me a follow once again on both platforms at Roddy404. Like I said, next week is going to be big. LeBron's going to break the record. We're going to have Super Bowl week. We will return with some guests. But until then, y'all have a good rest of y'all weekend, and we will talk to y'all then, man. Peace.